Please subscribe to my channel right at the start. I stood before the reflection, a small brush shaking in my grip. My sister's lipstick sat on the sink, a gentle pink hue. That color, she claimed, belonged solely to girls who counted. I simply yearned to experience appearing ordinary, not stunning, just not overlooked. The door flew open with such force that the glass vibrated. Mom's words cut sharply into the room. Whose cosmetics are those? I stiffened. I only took it temporarily. I planned to return it. She advanced across the space in a couple of steps. Her gaze was piercing, the type that never eased. You believe you can take what isn't yours and turn into her? Her. She referred to my sister Marlene, the flawless one, the one who received the fine dishes, the fresh outfits, the praises that started and ended each dinner. I wasn't taking it, I murmured. She glanced away briefly, and I hoped perhaps it would blow over. Maybe she'd merely reprimand me. But then she flung open the closet and grabbed Dad's iron bar, the one he employed to align the yard posts. Extend your leg, she stated evenly. I retreated until my calves pressed against the bureau. Mom. Her tone stayed level. That worsened it. You wish to mimic Marlene? You'll recall what occurs when you attempt. The initial blow struck before I could utter a word. A searing agony ripped through my lower leg. I inhaled sharply, attempted to shift, but the next one arrived quicker than the following. My legs gave way and I collapsed firmly, the bar clanging next to me. Marlene showed up in the entrance, a cloth wrapped around her damp hair. Mom, what's going on? She asked, but not with alarm, with revulsion. She's always so theatrical. I remained there trembling, tears obscuring my vision. Please halt, I pleaded, my words too faint to carry. Mom bent close, her breath near my ear. You'll recall this, she declared coolly and composed. Each time you step, she rose, passed the bar to Marlene as if it were trivial, and exited. Marlene dropped it onto the ground. You're pitiful, she remarked, and departed, leaving the door ajar. The throbbing surged through my limbs, profound and muted, the sort that seems to burrow beneath your flesh. I attempted to rise, but each motion burned like flames. Hours passed before I shuffled outdoors. The night breeze carried scents of precipitation and corrosion. Lights glowed from the nearby homes, chuckles drifting softly from the adjacent residents. For an instant, I pictured rapping on a door, begging anybody for aid. But who would trust my story? All viewed my mom as kind, courteous, giving. I reached the entrance gate before her call echoed from the window. If you exit that way, don't return weeping when reality overwhelms you. Her outline in the glow appeared nearly serene. I stayed silent. I proceeded regardless, one irregular stride after another. The path faded as the 8 climbed upward. I arrived at the little playground 2 blocks distant and settled on the chilly seat. My fingers still carried traces of talc and steel. A young child swung close by, her mom nudging her softly, grinning each time the swing returned. I couldn't avert my eyes. The noise of that kid's joy stirred a deep hurt inside me. Not envy, merely desire. After they departed, I pressed my hand into the soil beneath the seat, cool against my skin, and murmured, You'll recall this as well, Mom. Because I would. Every hobble, every twinge. Every evening I'd shut my eyes and hear that steady tone declaring, You'll recall this. It wasn't merely suffering she inflicted. It was evidence. Evidence that she'd shatter me to safeguard her preferred child. Evidence that I wasn't kin. Just the echo of what she wished to ignore. I lingered in that playground until the road lamps dimmed. Then I hobbled back, gradual, silent, not due to pardoning her, but because I needed her to witness me cross that threshold once more. Her gaze expanded when she spotted me in the entry, smeared with grime, features puffed but resolute. You ought to have remained away, she stated, crossing her arms. I didn't flinch. You instructed me to recall, I replied gently. I shall. She gazed for a moment, something unsure flashing across her expression. Fear, perhaps. Then she pivoted. That evening I rested in my bed with my limbs pulsing beneath the covers, fixating on the ceiling ventilator rotating lazy loops. Each rotation echoed a vow in my mind. One day you'll recall, too. And as the home grew still and her steps receded along the corridor, I understood I wasn't the shattered one any longer. She was. She simply hadn't realized it yet. I arose late the following day, my limbs rigid and inflated, every shift shooting a jolt along my back. The space reeked of grit and rage. Mom's words floated from the cooking area, steady, nearly joyful, as if nothing occurred. The routine spun my head. I eased upright, the fabric clinging to my body, and eavesdropped. Marlene giggled over something. Plates rattled. Existence continued sans me, as though my torment had vanished. When I shuffled to the entrance, Mom didn't even look over. "If you're going to sulk, keep it silent," she remarked. My neck constricted. My limb could be broken. She continued chopping produce. "Then cease taking items that aren't yours." Marlene added, tone honeyed yet cutting, "Don't play the injured party. You constantly portray her negatively, then seek sympathy." I observed the pair, their serene expressions, their vicious comfort, and grasped that in this dwelling, agony was amusement. That night, Dad returned from his job. I figured perhaps he'd spot it, inquire what transpired. But upon noticing the hobble, he scowled. "What mischief now?" "Mom struck me," I said, words quivering. He barely reacted. "Then you earned it. Avoid provoking her." He settled to dine while I lingered by the counter, my form aching, my soul empty. I discovered then, agony held no value here. It failed to sway them, failed to embarrass them, failed to register. So I ceased seeking notice. Days merged. I labored silently, scrubbed surfaces, handled washing, prepared meals when directed. Every stride echoed her phrase, "You'll recall this." And I did, no longer from dread, but insight. One midday, when they departed for Marlene's pal celebration, I remained solitary in the cooking space, eyeing the bar she'd wielded. It propped against the wall, subtle marks on the steel. I traced my digits over it, sensed the chill heft, and pondered how simply it had robbed my respect. But an inner change had occurred since that evening. The identical hobble she bestowed now signaled I could endure all. That awareness wasn't mending. It was shield. That period, I secured a casual position at a second-hand store on the town's fringe. I informed no one. Every bit of pay I concealed within my pillow's seam. Mom began observing my silence. "What scheme now?" she mocked. "Nothing," I replied. "Just recalling." Her gaze tightened, but she relented. By the time the injury signs vanished, I had amassed sufficient to depart. Each evening, I'd perch by the pane, observing their mirth pour from the sitting area. My sister modeling gowns, Mom praising her, Dad approving with nods. It seemed ideal from afar, but I'd dwelled inside too long to miss the reality. Ideal can mask brutality. One night, I caught Mom confiding to Marlene. I eagerly await her exit. "She's a blight on this home." They chuckled, and my fist clenched the sill until my joints paled. That evening, I gathered silently. Some garments, a volume, the pillow with sewn currency. I wasn't fleeing. I was departing with intent. But prior to going, I entered the hall storage and retrieved the bar, not for retaliation, but as a memento. I leaned my mass until it bent, rendered useless, and pushed it beneath their mattress. They'd awaken tomorrow unaware why it no longer suited the yard posts. But each glimpse from Mom would evoke the day she applied it, and perhaps inwardly sense the discomfort she once forced on me. I slipped out quietly, hobbling, firm, resolve keen. I never glanced rearward, not once. I exited pre-dawn. The lane was hushed, the hush that buzzes when committing the permanent. My pack was featherlight, my frame burdened, but I persisted until the dwelling vanished aft. The hobble worsened that dawn, yet it was irrelevant. It seemed the torment now belonged to another, one I'd interred. The second-hand storekeeper, a silver-haired lady called Lydia, spotted immediately. "You seem burdened by loads not your own," she noted, without probing, merely perceiving. For the initial time in ages, someone gazed at me and saw no issue to mend, just an individual striving to remain upright. She permitted me the tiny back storeroom. I arranged attire, repaired stitches, cleared debris. The aroma of aged cloth and particles was strangely soothing. It evoked neglected tales. Lydia compensated me in bills each Friday. I never share my savings goal. Liberty requires no justification. Time elapsed. My limbs mended unevenly, retaining a subtle hobble. Certain evenings it throbbed intensifier, particularly in storms, but I no longer resented it. It echoed the day I quit pleading for affection that demanded all. Then one midday, Lydia entered the rear holding a creased paper. The local hub needs assistance, she mentioned. You'd fit well. They offer stitching, literacy, such. I paused. I doubt I can instruct. You needn't instruct. She grinned. Merely presence suffices at times. My debut at the hub. Children lounged on the ground, chuckling, bickering boisterously in manners my home lacked. One small girl pulled my arm and queried, "Miss, did it sting when you tumbled?" I blinked. "How so?" She indicated my limb. "You stepped like my Nana. She calls it her champion stride." I grinned genuinely then, the initial unborrowed. "Yes," I murmured softly. "It's somewhat like that." Each subsequent afternoon, I lingered, reciting tales, repairing playthings, aiding assignments. The twinge in my limb persisted, but ceased dominating until one dusk. I was securing when the hub entrance squeaked, and that tone, the one I believed banished, slithered in. Evelyn. Mom loomed in the entry, slimmer, ashen. Her locks threaded with silver absent prior. She scanned as if fearing discovery. "You're elusive," she said. I stayed put. "You never searched earlier." She breathed unsteadily. "Your dad departed. Marlene relocated distant. The home. It's overly silent." I waited. No compassion surfaced. I arrived since she gulped. "I ought not have that evening with the bar." I halted her mildly. "Spare the rest. You'd utter it solely to ease your load." She blinked, tears forming. "You despise me." I regarded her, truly regarded and discerned oddly. I didn't. Despise demands vigor, and she claimed excess of mine. "I don't despise you," I stated evenly. "I simply lack need for you." Her mouth quivered. "You echo your father." "Perhaps," I said, "but I'll never echo you." She advanced, tone imploring. "Return home, beg." It's altered without I chuckled, subdued yet piercing. "Home? You intend the spot where you drew my blood for lipstick?" Her expression collapsed. I was furious. "I lacked intent, yes. You possessed." I said, tone firm. "You always possessed." The shift is now I recall sans torment. She muffled her lips, weeping quietly. The noise should have fractured me, yet it remained void. I gathered my pack and passed her to the exit. She extended reflexively, perhaps to halt, perhaps embrace. I'll never discern. I sidestepped. "You'll recall this," I murmured. Her inhale hitched. Briefly. Her gaze broadened, not from hurt but awareness. I abandoned her in the identical hush she'd once abandoned me. Outdoors, the dusk heavens blazed amber. Youngsters dashed by giggling. The giggles resembling absolution, not from merit, but life's persistence. That evening, I returned to the store and joined Lydia as she tallied the drawer. She inquired nothing of my absence. She merely offered tea. "You appear less weighted," she observed. I grinned subtly. I ceased recalling her preferred method. Lydia assented. "Well, certain recollections unworthy of their room." I peered through the glass at the lamp wavering, at my hobble's shade elongating across the ground. It was no defect now. It was my evidence. Evidence I endured those attempting to instill agony and converted it to power they'd never grasp. The following dawn, I returned to the hub, murmuring lightly as I turned the key. The identical small girl dashed over, giggling. "You stride like a victor again, Miss Evelyn." This occasion, I refrained correction. I merely grinned and replied, "Yes, I do." Because amid the bar, the hobble, and the quiet, I'd at last mastered uprightness. Please subscribe to my channel and tell me in comments from where you are watching this video.